what we had from the previous session. We had an app folder and then a VM. This is what we have so far, and the secret key function or script. Now we are going to be working now in the app. So in the app last time we went to create a database, and this is the content that we used to connect the database to the backend. That's what we did last time. Now we are going to, inside this same place, we are going to create another file, and then another file again, right, inside the app. So we are going to call it db_models UI. Now the thing is, what do I mean by DB? DB just means database models. So when we are going to be creating database tables from Python, and when it comes to Python or this language, my FastAPI, we are not going to be referring to them as tables. We are going to be referring as models. And the model is like the structure that SQLAlchemy will be seeing or be taking, send it to the backend, and tell the backend to create a table based on the particular model or structure that will give it. So when you come to the app, we'll be calling them models. When you go to the database, we'll be calling them tables. But then you can change them interchangeably. When in the app, you can say, oh, this is your table, this is your table, this is your table. But basically, the actual name for them is a model, right? So now, because SQL can be the one carrying this model from this Python to database to the database, we are going to need it very well over here. So we are going to import something, say from SQLAlchemy Visual. We are going to import something that we'll be needing for the table. And we say a table is made up of rows and columns. So one first thing that we'll be importing from SQLAlchemy is column. We are going to import column from it because we're using it to create columns. And then in every column, we are going to put some data, right? And every column should know or should have a particular data that can enter there, or data type. So a column can take only strings, a column can take integers, a column can contain whatever float numbers, right? So based on data, we'll be taking string values like names, right? There will be needing string as well. We may be needing something like integer. Some of the column may contain integer. Other columns may contain floating point numbers. Why float? Because we are going to be working with expenses. So some of the money that will be transaction be doing to be 0.0 point something. So we need a float also to import over there. For now, this is good. We'll come later and update anything, but right now let's go the simplest way first. So we have imported all this from SQLAlchemy. Another thing that we'll need that we'll be using to create every model. Basically, if you know OOP, we'll be calling it classes. For every class, is that we need a particular parent class that will be from FastAPI itself. We need something from FastAPI that will be the major class, or SQLAlchemy itself, right? That will be something that we'll be using to create every class. Every class will be depending on that base class from FastAPI. So we have done that already. That's why I say when we're using the database, and I talk to you about this base, declarative base. That's and we imported it from SQLAlchemy as well, ORM. So we'll be going back to, we need that in this particular file, database model, to start creating the class. So we are going to say from the database file, this is the database file. The name of the file that we have here is database. So we are importing from this database. We have built the base already over there. From database, we are going to import base. Great. So these two imports are basic things that we can use to start creating our list. Let me leave a comment here, and the comment I will say here is like the user class. So when you're creating a table, right, every major object in your app, right, should be having a class. For example, a group of objects, something like users. There'll be users using your app. That's one collection of things that you can put in a table. There will be transactions that will be doing in this particular app. You can put them together and call them a table of collection, or a collection of table, right? That should be a table. Every collection of objects that you have in your app, you need to clearly define them and know how to put them in different tables. We'll later learn how to join one table to another table, and right now we are just going to do the basic one. Every app that we'll be building, basically users will be coming to use it. We need to authenticate users. Users will be giving us their email, their name and password and all that, right? So one particular thing, one collection of items that are related to our app will be users. So we need to create a table for users where we can put them together. So there will be a user class. So we call them class. This is how to build a model itself. Class the name of the class object, the object is user, right? The class is a user class, and that will be depending on the base. So that base is going to be inheriting from, they are going to be inheriting this from the base itself that you have imported, right? That will be the major class, or let's call it the mother class for all class. Every class that we building, every model that we're building should be based on this base class, right? Basically. So now the thing is, when you have this object database, um, this object is a user object class, right? And then we say when we go to the database, we're creating a table. So that table should have a table name. So we need to have a table name. Look at how I wrote it. Underscore underscore table name underscore underscore again will be equal to now the name of the table that you want to give. I'll call it users. So when you go to the database, the table name that the table that we created will be called users. That's what we have currently, right? Now, what are the, for every column, we need to define every column now, right? We need to define every column now. So basically, it's as if you are focusing on one column and one row. You are going to focus on one row. You're focusing on one row to create how the various column in that row. Then any subsequent new object that you be adding will be having a different row itself. So here we are focusing on one row. So a row should have columns. We are going to define columns. So basically, from here, I'm going to say defining relevant columns in the table. We don't define rows here, but we define column because each user is going to be in a particular row. It's as if you are inside the row already. So you just focus on building the columns. So giving the table a name. I'm just adding comment to make sure that things are clear to you. So define relevant column. The very first column I'll be needing will be ID. ID will be equal to, so the ID is a column, right? So you need to call the column that we've inherited. Remember, we've inherited it from here, from SQLAlchemy. So we are needing that we are going to, for this particular column, we are going to contain, this particular ID column is going to contain integer. What should be inside should be integers, right? Now, this should serve as a primary key. So if we are defining, we are trying to separate one row from another, we should use the IDs to differentiate between one row and another. That's what we will calling it. That's what we're calling it, primary key. So we use the primary key. We make this particular row a primary key to be true, basically. So that's the primary key. We made it true because we're using the ID to differentiate one row from another. We'll also be needing index. Index, we set index equals true. Why should index be equal to true? The index will make sure that when we are trying to search for a particular user using the ID, it will be easier. So when you say the index to be true, it will allow the database to quickly do search using that particular column that you have. So for example, we can search, if you go to the table, there may be multiple users. So we can search a particular user just using the ID. So if you set the ID index to true, it facilitates that. So any column that you make index to be equal to true, it means that you can search for a particular user or a particular row using that particular column. So here, among all the columns, among all the tables, you can use the ID to search a particular user. So we set the index equal to true. Now, another thing that we need, we can take user email. You can take user email, right? And then this one will also be a column. Sorry, it's also be a column, and this column will contain email. It should be a string, right? Now every email should be different from the other, so unique equals to true. So every email is unique, right? That's why we are bringing the unique inside this column. So this column, no other person in the particular column should have the same email. Every email should be unique from the other. And then again, we are going to do index equals to true. Why index equals to true? Because we can search users by using particular email. Based on the email, we can search a user. So to quickly facilitate that user for the database, you set the index equals to true, right? Basically, that's it. So then another thing I may want to add will be password. But currently we are not going to add password yet. Let's just have a simple table like this created. Let me add another thing like first name, equals to, so what do you think the first name will be? The first name will be a column, right? Will contain string, right? It shouldn't be unique because people can have the same first name. We don't care. So index, can we set users by the first name? Yeah, sometimes you may search, other time it depends on how you want your project to go, right? You make it the index to be true, or otherwise you can just decide not to search any person by first name, or you can just leave it like this. So it's not unique, it's not in there, it's not a primary key, so we just leave the database like this. First name, let me do the same for last name, equals to column. So you decide if you want to make it unique or not, or you want to make it um, indexed, right? It depends on you. If you want, you will be searching users by last name, you'll be searching users by first name, then you go ahead and do that. So currently, yes, this is what we have. We have a particular table. So this is a simple model. You have a model actually. You have a model here, and then we can use this model to create anything, a table in the database. Let's see that in action. So first, to do that, we are going to say base dot metadata dot create underscore all. Now we are going to bind into particular engine. Yes, our engine, but we don't have the engine here. The engine that we created in the database here, where is it? We created an engine here, right, last time. So that's the engine I'll be using to go to give to the base the metadata and create all to in order to create these tables for us. So we need to import it as well. So from database file we import the engine as well. So that's what the engine come in. So engine is also imported, and then this one will allow us to create database. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open my PostgreSQL, my pgAdmin 4. I'm opening that. Yeah, it's loading. Let's wait for it. Yeah, I hope you are getting the concept so far. These are very key things that you need to know how to create database table, because the next thing that we may need a group collection of objects may be so it's open now. Let me just go ahead with that. So I have servers. I'm going to collect the servers. They ask for my password. Yeah, my password is there. Then it's open now, and then I have my finance DB. I'll just open it too, and then I go to schema. Go to schema. When you go to schema, you see that there is, you go to table side, table is here. You see there's nothing in table here, right? So you open it, try to open it, it's not opening. You try to close it, it's not opening, nothing is happening. So that's what happened. That's what happens. So quickly, let's go back to our Python here, because we have created a table, right? We need to see that this particular model. We have created a model actually. We want to see this model inside the database created with columns like ID. Table name should be users, the ID, there will be email, there will be first name, and there will be last name. Let's have that created. So after this particular one will be the one that will create everything. It will create all classes that you have so far. So since we are having this, what we will do is that we are going to run it. We are actually going to run it, this particular file, db underscore model. So as usual, I will open our terminal. It's loading, taking time to load. Now I'm going to first you have to activate your virtual environment. Always remember to activate your virtual environment. Now I'm going to cd into the app, right? Because right now we are at the expense tracker, but whatever models that we have, they are all in the app section. So I'm going to cd into the app. What's happening? I'm cding into the app. Now after you get into the app, what the next thing to do, you are going to run python db underscore models.py. So I'm running this. So database connection successful. Okay, so I'm running it, right? It's done. So we need to go back to check our database again. Okay, currently at the tables level there is nothing, so sometimes you just have to open or close it again before you can see the change that you have. So right now we don't have anything here, right? We are supposed to see some changes. So what I will do is that I'll try and close it and open it. It's not coming. So I will just basically close my pgAdmin and open it again to see the table in there. You should be able to see the table in there after running it, because we haven't run into any error. So everything is fine, everything is working. Let's confirm that quickly. This time we should have the full table. As usual, they will ask for my password because I'll just open it again. So I'm going to my finance DB. I'm going to schemas and tables. You see, I've now collapsed my tables. Now under the tables, you can see that there is number 1 here now, and then there is our table. There is our table called users table. So you see, users is the first table that we have under tables for our schema. So when I'm collapsing this thing on as well, I see it has columns. This users table has columns that you created. So you open that columns to see the various columns that you have. We have ID, we have email, we have first name, we have last name, right? So what you do is that you select this particular users table itself, you right click and you go to view, and then you select all rows just to see everything. Let's wait for it. Yeah, so right now you can see that we have a table here. We don't put anyone, but all the columns are created for us. We have the ID. Key just mean that primary key. So this is a primary key. This is what we're using to differentiate one row from another. Primary key, and then the email is a character variable, first name and the last name. All of them are here. So this is a particular table. So whenever we enter a particular user, all of them will be filling here from top to down, like in the table. With everyone having an ID, everyone having an email, everyone having a first name, everyone having a last name, right? So I challenge you to also go back through over this and create another table on your own. Create another table on your own following the concept, or maybe you can clean everything, try to rebuild the particular table on your own, and you add other fields. You can add other fields, his first name, last name, password, maybe age, but whatever you want to add. Remember, an age should be a number, so it shouldn't be a string, maybe an integer, or maybe anything that you want to add, right? Create a table. Let's see how the concept solidifies with your understanding. Yeah, in next session we'll see how to create actual users into our tables.